गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदना जय व्रजजनरंजना जय यशोदानंदना जय व्रजजनरंजना जय यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्णा everybody happy to join your association
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna happy to join your association after a gap of some time. So with the mercy of Guru and Krishna,
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. So with the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we are in the second canto, 10th chapter, shloka number 35, and today's our shlokas are starting from 35 to 40, roughly 6 shlokas. We will try to cover it. The subject is a little deep. I request all of you to make notes so that it will be helpful to you for understanding later on also. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Dadadi Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakagana Raghunatanvitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langete Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Jayapataka Swamin Niti Namine Namahachara Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayane Gaurakata Damadaya Nagara Gramatarine Kasturi Tilakam Lalata Patale Vakshastale Kaustubam Nasagre Varamotikam Kartale Vonukare Kanganam Sarvange Harichandanam Sulalitam Kantecha Muktavali Gopastri Pariveshtito Vijete Gopala Chudamani Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Hare Krishna. Today we'll start with the shloka number 35.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, your video is off. Your camera.
I am using my mobile now because power has gone. I am using on data now.
Okay.
Okay. I'll come back once the power comes, or I'll try to join with video a little later.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu.
Okay. So how about displaying on the screen? You will do it, or?
Yeah, I'm doing it, Prabhu. I'll do it.
Please. Okay. As we see this chapter, it's very interesting. It is the conversation between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, and he describes the Lord's various vaibhavams in Sanskrit when we say that. In it is English, opulences. Because as we see from the Bhagavad Gita also, we can see how the Lord displayed his opulences, right? So this is a part of it, and one can understand the Lord is capable of everything. Shloka number 35. Amuni Bhagavat Rupe Mayate hi anuvarnite ubepi na ghnanti maya srushte vipaschitaha. Amuni Bhagavat Rupe Mayate hi anuvarnite ubepi na ghnanti Maya Srishte Vipaschitaha. One of you can read the synonyms translation, please. Narayani Mataji.
Hare Krishna, devotees.
Hare Krishna,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
please, Mataji. Go ahead.
Yeah. Synonyms. Amuni, all these. Bhagavat, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rupe, in the forms. Maya, by me. Te, unto you. He, certainly. Anuvarnite, described respectively. Ube, both. Api, also. Na, never. Grananti, accepts. Maya, external. Shrishte, being so manifested. Vipachita, the learned one who knows. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Neither of the above forms of the Lord, as just described unto you, from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord who know Him well. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So, Narayana Mataji, you can call out someone for purport as well.
Yeah. Devotees, if someone would like to read purport, Mataji, TGS1, Mataji or Prabhuji?
Shanti Ramachandra Mataji. Yeah.
Okay, Shanti Mataji, yeah.
May I read, Mataji?
Yeah, read Mataji, please.
Yeah.
Always mention your name, huh? Don't be shy.
Yeah. Sorry, very sorry.
No problem. Because we cannot call out the names. That's only different. Okay, no problem.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The impersonalists think of the absolute personality of Godhead in two different ways, as above mentioned. On the one hand, they worship the Lord in his Vishwarupa, or all-pervading universal form, and on the other, they think of the Lord's unmanifested, indescribable, subtle form. The theories of pantheism and monism are respectively applicable to these two conceptions of the Supreme as gross and subtle, but both of them are rejected by the learned pure devotees of the Lord because they are aware of the factual position. This is very clearly mentioned in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which records Arjuna's experience of the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna.
Adrishtapurvam Krishitosmi Drishtva Bhayena cha Pravyatitam Manome Tadeva me Darshaya Deva Rupam Prasidha Devesha Jagannivasa. Yes.
Arjuna, as a pure devotee of the Lord, never previously saw the contemplated universal form of Lord Vishwarupa, but when he did see it, his curiosities were satisfied. But he was not happy to see such a form of the Lord because of his attachment as a pure devotee. He was afraid to see the gigantic form of the Lord. He therefore prayed to the Lord to assume his four-handed Narayana or Krishna form, which alone could please Arjuna. Undoubtedly, the Lord has the supreme potency to exhibit himself in multifarious forms, but the pure devotees of the Lord are interested in his forms as eternally exhibited in the abode of the Lord, known as the Tripat Vibhuti or Kingdom of God. The Lord in the Tripat Vibhuti abode exhibits himself in two forms, either with 4 hands or with 2 hands. The Vishwarupa exhibited in the material manifestation has unlimited hands and unlimited dimensions with everything unlimited. The pure devotees of the Lord worship him in his Vaikuntha forms as Narayana or Krishna. Sometimes the same Vaikuntha forms of the Lord are in the material world also by his grace as Sri Rama, Sri Krishna, Sri Narsimhadeva, etc. And thus the pure devotees also worship them. Usually, the features shown in the material world have no existence in the Vaikuntha planets, and thus they are not accepted by the pure devotees. With what the pure devotees worship from the very beginning and eternal forms of the Lord existing in the Vaikuntha planets. The non-devotee impersonalists imagine the material forms of the Lord, and ultimately they emerge in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, whereas the pure devotees of the Lord are worships of the Lord both in the beginning and also in the perfect stage of salvation eternally. The worship of the pure devotees never stops, whereas the worship of the impersonalist stops after his attainment of salvation when he merges in the impersonal form of the Lord, known as the Brahmajyoti. Therefore, the pure devotees of the Lord are described here as Vishwachita.
Vipaschita. Mataji, Vipaschita.
Vipaschita are the learned who are in the knowledge of the Lord perfectly. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One improvement, it is Vaikuntha.
Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Okay, let's move into the first translation, then into the purport. Neither of the forms of the Lord as described above, because in the previous 2-3 shlokas, Sukadeva Goswami is describing the various forms of the Lord, and specifically 2, and it was explained to him, and it was explained from the angle of material aspect or vision. So it's not accepted. Neither means both the material aspect of the vision is not accepted by pure devotee of the Lord who knows him very well, or well, whatever it is. See, as we go into the purport, the very first sentence Prabhupada talks about the 2 type of descriptions or forms. See, the Lord has got innumerable energies, and the Lord comes in innumerable forms. So here the 2 aspects which are liked by non-devotee can say, or not a pure devotee can say, what they accept is, one is primarily a material angle. In that, they have got 2 divisions. One is called as pantheism, another is called as monism. So Prabhupada talks about impersonalist. See, impersonalist means, very simple, the Lord is not having any form. So this is a gross ignorance, and they are not able to understand the Lord. That's the primary reason. So they look at the Lord, one as Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa means it is the universal form, or you can call it, it is a material form. The Lord can appear as material form also, one has to understand. But that does not mean he is having a material form. His form is always transcendental form or spiritual form. So Prabhupada explains very clearly, when we speak about Krishna, his body and soul are both transcendental and both are spiritual. But whereas in our case, the soul is spirit, whereas the body is of matter. So here, when we talk about here, the Lord gives a darshan to Arjuna because he was desiring to see the various opulences of the Lord. As you see in the Bhagavad Gita, gradually Krishna explains about all his various energies and potencies on whatnot. So when he explains in 7 and 9 chapters, all in verbally. But hearing that, he could understand to a greater extent. But he wanted to see that physically. That means anything which is explained verbally cannot be understood easily. And when a video is shown, automatically the grasping or the understanding goes up. Similarly, Arjuna wanted to see, but the Lord said, with your normal eyes, you cannot see. You have to have a Divya Chakshu Dadami, like that he says. So he is giving a Divya Chakshu. Similarly, people will ask how Sanjaya could see that. Immediately they will ask. It's very simple. From the beginning, it is explained, Vyasadeva, incarnation of Supreme Lord, he gave him a very special vision, sitting from the palace, and he could see what is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So he also saw that. So coming back to this universal form, when he wanted to see that, his curiosity was more. As he saw that, he felt it is not interesting. So that is also explained further in this chapter, in the purport also. So let us try to understand these two words. What is it? Pantheism and monism. Pantheism, one, who people understand the God in terms of material aspects or the entire created manifestation, or you can call all the universes put together. That's called a pantheism. Monism is something which is, we call it as Advaitam. Because Dvaitam means two, Advaitam means one. So this is merging with the Lord. So these two aspects both are considered as what written here. Vipaschitaha is one, learned. This is what? Avipaschitaha. What is it called? Avipaschitaha means those who are not learned, those who are ignorant. So that's why in the Bhagavad Gita also he says Mudaha, right? So we understood the words pantheism and monism. Again, I'll repeat it. Pantheism related to understanding the Lord with the material creation. That's called the universal form. Monism is one. They think the Lord is one and we are one with the Lord. This is called Advaitam. This is the wrong philosophy, the wrong understanding. This is condemned by many other Vaishnava acharyas. Okay. So coming further down, they understand the Lord with two things. One is gross and subtle. But again, they are doing another mistake. Gross and subtle related to material aspects, and the Lord is above all these things. So for a pure devotee, they are very well aware of the real position of Krishna. That's why when we try to understand the Devi Devatas, we have to be very careful. Why? Because we should know their position, where they are placed. And people in general, they criticize, oh, Krishna conscious people, ISKCON people always ignore or disrespect the Devi Devatas. No, we respect them and we understand their position by the mercy of Prabhupada and the various Acharya. So here, the pure devotees understand the factual position of Krishna. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, it is explained very well, and it is whose words? Arjuna's words. What is he? Adrishta purvam pishitosmi drishtva. First he says adrishta, then he says drishta. That means drishta means can see, adrishta means cannot see. Bayena cha pravyatityam manome. So that means he's giving us care in him. Tadeva me darshaya deva rupam. So deva rupam means what? Regarding the Devadi Dev or Deva Rupa. So it can be called as the four-armed form also. So Prasita Devesha Jagannivasa. So Jagannivasa means he is called Jagannath, he is called as Jagannivas, he is called as Srinivas, so many names, right? So as we see that the Lord has got so many varieties of forms and so many varieties of potency. He is called as unlimited. Again, if you look at it, no, in the Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, I think so, in the 51st chapter, I think so, if I remember, wherein he is giving darshan to Muchkunda. At that time, he is telling, the Lord is telling, say, I have taken so many births, and I have taken so many names in that birth, and I have taken so many forms. And I myself don't know the numbers. But a person in the material world, they can count the number of granules in the total earth by taking so many births, but they cannot do this count. So that means the Lord has got multifarious. It is in the purport also mentioned here, right? So he is unlimited. So under the circumstances, how one can understand the Lord? It's impossible. Impossible. So the purport, Arjuna as a pure devotee never previously saw the contemplated universal form. Contemplated meant was because he had been listening from Krishna and he was contemplating, it will be like this, it will be like that. But once he saw that, when did he see that? His curiosity was satisfied, clear. But he was not happy to see such a form of the Lord. See, the amount of closeness, the amount of friendship, the amount of what else we can add. So the understanding between them was something unique. So because of this attachment of a pure devotee, he was afraid to see the gigantic form. So as we saw that, here also, when we talk about the monism and pantheism, there is a wonderful explanation in the, again, Bhagavatam. And what does it explain? Let us try to understand. It's very interesting. Please make a note of it. It is coming in the 10th canto, 43rd chapter, shloka number 17. All of you, I request, it's a must shloka you have to by heart. What is that? It's a must shloka you have to by heart. Mataji, can you display it? 10:43:17. Mallanam Ashanir Nirnam Naravaraha Strinam Smaro Murtiman Gopanam Swajano Ashatam Sthiti Buja Sasta Sopitro Shishu Murtiku Bojapatehe Virat Avidusham. Remember the word Virat Avidusham. Virat Avidusham Tattvam Param Yoginam Krishninam Paradeva Deti Vinito Rangam Gataha Sagrijaha. What does it say? Virat Avidusham. Because as the Lord Krishna and Balarama entered the Mallaranga, the wrestling arena, immediately those who are coming and watching, the Mathuravasis and all others, they were stunned because each and everyone were able to see the Lord whatever the way they wish. That means it's clear the Lord has got unlimited potency and is able to give unlimited forms to show them. So on seeing them, they were extremely pleased. That's why it is explained in this verse. Mataji, can you read the translation, Narayani Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt, the men of Mathura as the best of males, the women as Cupid in person, the cowherd men as their relative, the empire's rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of the Bhojas as death, the unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form, the yogis.
Mataji, can you repeat the sentence again? Can you repeat the sentence again? This sentence. This sentence only. Unintelligent?
The unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form.
So as we read here, why I am referring now, try to understand how to link the shlokas. So that shloka talks about it, and this shloka also talks about the same thing. And it defines such a person as unintelligent. And they want to see the Lord with the universal form. That's called Virat Avidusham. Avidusham means ignorant people. That's called ignorant.
The yogis as the absolute truth and the Vrishnis as their supreme worshipable deity.
I tell you, it's amazing. Amazing. Okay. I'm not going deep into that. I picked up this shloka for this reference. The unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form. So that can match it. But this shloka also gives you how the Lord is capable of giving different type of darshans to different taste of. And again, you can talk about the rasa, which I don't want to get into that because it's another extensive subject. So this is the way it is done. So as we see that, so this criticizes the universal form of lovers. Then let's move on to talk about the merging with the Lord, right? Monism, right? Here, this shloka also explains so very well. Impersonalist, it is criticized. Huh? This is from the Bhagavad Gita 12.5. Klesho adhikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkam dehavadhirravapyate. 12.5. Narayani, can you read the translation?
Yes. Does anyone wants to read? They can take up the chance to read.
Shall I, Mataji?
Yeah. You people can raise your hand and one by one, maybe you can take up.
Yeah, that's easier.
Yeah.
Is it the next shloka, Mataji, or 12.5?
12.5.
12.5 translation.
Okay, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Hare Krishna.
So now we can understand impersonalists are criticized here. Why? Because we have a form. And how this one having a form can worship the Lord without the form? No. That's why it says klesho atikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham. Then it says they have a there, those who possess a body. So this is also talking about the unmanifested one or the impersonal feature. So this is also rejected. See, I'll tell you, the Vaishnava philosophy is dominant and it is topmost because the other philosophy which were introduced by so many are with scientific reason rejected. This is what I am trying to emphasize here, right? So we got one more shloka, sorry to extend further. So this is coming in the, again, a wonderful devotee of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj. Mataji, this is 497. I will read the sloka. Ekastvam eva bhagavan nidham atma shaktya mayakyayor gunaya mahadadasesham. Ekastvam eva bhagavan nidham atma shaktya mayakyayor gunaya mahadadasesham. Srishtvan vishya purushastadasat guneshu naneva dharushu Vibha Vasuvat Vibhasi. One can read the translation, please.
Shall I, Prabhuji?
Translation directly.
Mataji, can you show the translation? Translation by Prabhupada ki jai. My Lord, you are the Supreme One, but by your different energies, you appear differently in the spiritual and material worlds. You create the total energy of the material world by your external potency, and after creation, you enter within the material world as the super soul. You are the Supreme Person, and through the temporary modes of material nature, you create varieties of manifestation, just as fire entering into wood of different shapes, but burns brilliantly in different varieties. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. So this describes how a pure devotee of the Lord understood the Lord. This is very, very important. Right? Understand here, actually, Dhruva Maharaj was meditating on the Paramatma, the four-armed form. And after seeing the Lord in person, who is just in front of him, he could describe the Lord. What does he say now? You are the Supreme One. And what does he say next? Very next sentence. But by your different energies, you appear differently in the spiritual and the material world. So beautiful, so beautiful. And what does he say? You create the total energy of the material world by your external energy. Amazing, amazing. So it has got such a wonderful connection with this shloka. You are the supreme person, and through the temporary modes of material nature, you create varieties of manifestation, such as. So that means the Lord's capability. That's called, what do we call it as Vaibhavam. What is it called? Vaibhavam. In Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, they call it as Divya Vaibhavam, because the opulence are all always transcendent. So here also another evidence wherein Dhruva Maharaj clearly says the Lord has got many energies and many forms. So one cannot just restrict him to one. He is unlimited. So that's why it says in this particular verse, it talks about it. So as we go further into the purport of today's shloka, multifarious forms. The pure devotee of the Lord are interested in his forms as eternally exhibited in the abode of the Lord, Tripad Vibhuti. So this is another very important thing. Krishna's abode is called as Tripad Vibhuti, means what is the meaning of it? Tribhangi Krishna. What is that? He has got three bends in his wonderful form. It's called as Shama Sundara form. That's why Prabhupada also enters here as two-handed as well as four-handed form. So the Vishwarupa exhibited for the material manifestation. Okay, so moving on to that, Prabhupada explains sometimes the Vaikuntha forms of the Lord are in the material world also by the grace of Rama, Krishna, everything. And thus the pure devotees worship him. So when he does all these leelas, one cannot question. Right? When we get into the Ramayana, Lord Rama killed Bali, right? Undoubtedly, he is a demonic person, right? Though he possessed so many powers, he was demonic. You know the reason behind it. So let us not go deep into that. When he was killed, all the atheists will make a hue and cry. They conducted a debate and whatnot. But interestingly, one should know, one cannot question the form the Lord has taken and he has performed the activities. That's why when he performs so many leelas, it is not within our purview. Very simple. So one cannot try to understand or establish something with our limited capacity. So the worship of the pure devotee never stops. This is the reason. So it is unstoppable. What is it called? Unstoppable. So whereas the other forms are restricted, it cannot be going on like that. Therefore, the pure devotee of the Lord are described as vipaschita. What is the meaning of it? Learned. Vidwan, we say that, and or in knowledge of the Lord's perfectly. So then they know the Lord much more than this, right? So the pure devotee of the Lord can describe the Lord very precisely. Okay, so this shloka itself taken more than 30 minutes. Let's move on to the 36th shloka. Savachya Vachakataya Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrige Nama Rupa Kriya Dhatte Sakarma Karmakaha Paraha. Okay, so those who are raising the hands, please start.
Tintamani Prabhu, Meenakshi Mittal Mataji, okay.
Yeah.
Can I read?
Synonyms.
Yeah,
Yeah, so translation by His Divine Grace, S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He, the personality of Godhead, manifests himself in
Prabhu, synonyms, then to translation.
Okay, thank you. Saha, he, Vacha by his forms and activities, Vachakatya by his transcendental qualities and entourage, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Brahma, absolute, Rupa Dharka by accepting visible forms, Nama, name, Rupa, form, Kriya, pastime, Tatte, accepts, Sakarma, engaged in work, Akarmakaha, without being affected, Paraha, transcendence. Can I read translation as well, Prabhuji?
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so translation by Prabhupada. He, the personality of Godhead, manifests himself in a transcendental form, being the subject of his transcendental name, qualities, pastimes, interest, and transcendental variegatedness. Although he is unaffected by all such activities, he appears to be so engaged.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So, purport, I request Meenakshi Mittal Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Whenever there is a need of material creation, the transcendental personality of Godhead accepts forms in the material world for creation, maintenance, and destruction. One should be intelligent enough to know his activities in truth and not be biased to conclude that he descends to the material world by accepting a form created by material nature. Any form accepted from the material nature has its affection for everything done in the material world. A conditioned soul who accepts a material form for undergoing a certain term of material activities is subjected to the laws of matter. But here in this verse, it is clearly stated that although the forms and activities of the Lord appear to be in the same as those of a conditioned soul, they are supernatural and impossible for the conditioned soul. He, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always unaffected by such activities. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.14, the Lord
Mataji,
says,
I will read the sloka and I request another devotee to take up the balance translation. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Meenakshi Mataji. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yo abhijanati karma birna sabbadhyate. Krishnamurti Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Purport by Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord is never affected by the activities which he apparently performs by his different incarnations and personalities, nor does he have any desire to achieve success by fruitive activities. The Lord is pulled by his different potencies of wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, and thus he has no reason for physical exertion like the conditional soul. Therefore, an intelligent person who can distinguish between the transcendental activities of the Lord and the activities of the conditioned souls is also not bound by the reactions of activities. The Lord as Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva conducts the three modes of material nature. From Vishnu is born Brahma, and from Brahma is born Shiva. Sometimes Brahma is a separated part of Vishnu, and sometimes Brahma is Vishnu himself. Thus, Brahma creates the different species of life all over the universe, which means that the Lord creates the whole manifestation either by himself or through the agency of his authorized deputies. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, in this verse, it's a very interesting aspect. Two things are there. One, we have to understand. The Lord is never affected by the activities which he apparently performs. For that only I was telling Lord Ramachandra appeared and he killed the Bali. I explained from the Ramayana. So, what does it say? One should not connect it with the fruitive activities. This is very important because he does not have any desire to achieve anything in the material world. He is beyond all these things. He is unaffected though he appears in the world. Again, it looks he is involved into the material activity, but unfortunately, our understanding is very poor. So, as we see that, again, the Lord is full by his different potencies, health, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. As we see that, Namam Karmani Limpanti. So, that means he is always above all these things. He is not bound by the karma, the law of karma, because he only created the Prakriti, he only created the three type of modes, and it's all under the control of the Supreme Lord, and automatically it cannot touch him. Like that, very simple example. The king, always Prabhupada gives this example. The king goes to the jail and goes around and checks out what is happening, right? So when he enters the jail, does anybody say he is also a culprit or he is also a what you can say, anything you can use the word. So he is not like that. He is above the law because he created the law and he is maintaining it. And when he enters into the jail, the king is never bound by it. Similarly, the Lord created the material world and he has put in so many, and the detainees are there. And when the Lord comes and sees, it is not, he is also a detainee. Is about that. So that is a wonderful example. Then when we look at it immediately, you can remember the shloka from the Bhagavad Gita. What does it say? Fourth chapter, shloka number 9. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. This is 4.9 Bhagavad Gita. So wherein Krishna very clearly says, those who understand Janma and Karma, of whom the Supreme Lord Krishna. Janma means whenever he appears, right? He is not coming like us, staying in the mother's womb for 10 months. He is above that rule. Then Karma, when he does it, he is unaffected or he is not bound with it. So those who understand, what does he say? Tyaktva deham punarjanma. Such a soul which has understood when it quits the body, it never punarjanma, it never comes back again. That's why the devotees understand the Lord's activities and the appearance as transcendental. Such a devotee never comes into the cycle of birth and death, and he never takes another life. That's why Prabhupada gives a very clear statement. You follow the Krishna conscious movement seriously, sincerely, in this very life, you will go back to Godhead. That means you have to have a thorough seriousness of doing the sadhanas, trying to understand the knowledge as it is. Then automatically one will progress in Krishna Bhakti and one will be promoted to the Lord's abode. Right? Then when we talk about the 6 opulences, right? What is that? Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashaha. So what the Vishnu Puran says, he possesses all the 6 qualities. That's why Krishna is called as Bhagavan. So this is another important aspect which you have to understand here. Then this is a very much more important aspect is one is taking care of creation, one is taking care of maintenance, one is taking care of annihilation. People will say, oh, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, same. What same? They are same only in quality, not in quantity. The same Narayana, when he appears after the Daksha Yajna, right? So when Lord Shiva destroyed the whole arena, Lord Narayana came and he said, we are all one in quality, but not in quantity. That's why here you can understand the Vishnu expands as Brahma, and the same Brahma from whom another combination, what is that called as? Kshiram yata dadivihara vishesha yogat. So adding something to the milk and it becomes yogurt. So that is Shiva. So that means the Lord expands into different forms to conduct the things. So one should not underestimate, oh, Brahma is superior. No, Shiva is superior. Because the ultimate superior is who? The Supreme Lord Krishna. So this is also established very well in this. Thus Brahma creates the different species, and when it comes to maintenance, the same Vishnu expands as what? Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu. Because when he comes as Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu, he stays with each and every jiva and he sanctions whatever jiva desires it. He cautions it when he desires something above or away from the scriptures, he cautions. But if he listens, he is safe. And when he is not listening, and automatically he is unsafe. He is bound by the karmas. So that is called Narayana. So when we say in Hindi, Palan Poshan, right? So he does it and he expands himself. And again, one should not estimate, oh, like Brahma and Shiva, Narayana is also affected by the modes. No way. He is above all these things, right? Understand? when it comes to Vishnu, he comes in the Sattva Guna. Again, unaffected, right? Normal Sattva Guna comes under the three gunas, right? So, but this Sattva Guna, when the Vishnu comes in the Sattva Guna, he is unaffected. Then comes the Rajoguna Brahmaji, right? He is fully affected by the three modes. Then Shiva comes in the Rajoguna, Tamoguna, he is also affected by. So this is also very well explained. So let's move on to the last shloka. So we are running out of time. We have to go faster. Prajapatin, Manun, Devan, Rishin, Putr, Ganan, Pratak, Siddhacharana, Gandharvan, Vidya, Drasura, Guhyakan, Kinnara, Apsaraso, Nagan, Sarpan, Kimpurushan, Naran, Matran, Raksha, Ishamscha, Pretabhuta, Vinayakan, Kushimando, Unmadha, Betalan, Yatudanan, Grihanapi, Kagan, Mrighan, Pashun, Vrikshan, Green, Rupa, Saris, Rupan, Divi, Vidas Chatur, Vidaye Anye, Jala Sthala, Nabau Kashaha, Kushala, Mishraha, Karmanam, Gatayasti, Imaha. Okay, who is going to read it? They have to be a little faster. Or I will do it.
Can I, Prabhuji?
Wait.
Can I, Prabhuji?
Who has not got it? Subhra Prabhu, you read half of the synonyms. Half of the synonym I'll give to one more devotee. Quick.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prajapatin. His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His meanings and translations and purport. Prajapatin, Brahma and his sons like Daksha and others. Manu, the periodical hats like Vaivasvata Manu. Devan like Indra, Chandra and Varuna. Rishis like Bhrigu and Vasista. Pitru Ganan, the inhabitants of the Pitru planets. Prithak, separately. Siddha, the inhabitants of the Siddha planet. Charana, the inhabitants of the Charana planet. Gandharvan, the inhabitants of the Gandharva planets. Vidyadhara, the inhabitants of the Vidyadhara planet. Asura, the atheists. And Guhyakan, the inhabitants of the Yaksha planet. Kinnara, the inhabitants of the Kinnara planet. Apsaras, the beautiful angels of the Apsara planet. And Nagan, the serpentine inhabitants of the Nagaloka. Sarpan, the inhabitants of the Sarpaloka snakes. Kimpurushan, the monkey-shaped inhabitants of the Kimpurusha planet. Naran, the inhabitants of the earth. Matra, the inhabitants of the Matraloka. Raksha, the inhabitants of the demonic planet. Pisachan, the inhabitants of the Pisachaloka. Cha, also. Preta, the inhabitants of the Pretaloka. Bhuta, the evil spirits. Vinayakan, the goblins. Kushmanda.
Prabhu, give it to next one. Two shlokas you have covered. The next two shloka. Next. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, next I request now Kishori Devidasi Mataji. Start.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Dandavat Pranam.
After Vinayakan. Kushmanda. Can you highlight? That's it. Blue highlight. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Have you got it?
Yes,
please.
yes, Prabhuji.
Please start.
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Kushmanda the wisp, Unmanda, lunatic, Vetalan, the jinn, Yatu Dhananan, a particular type of evil. Grahan, the good and evil stars, Api also, Khagan, the birds, Nirgun, Mrugan, the forest, animals, Pashun, the household animals, Vrikshan, the ghost, Girin, the mountains, Dripa, Oking, Shir, Sharispran, reptiles, Devi Vedaha, the moving and the standing living entities, Chatuha, Vidaha, living entities born from embryos, eggs, perception and seeds, ye others, all jala, water, sthala, land, nabha, oksaha, bird, kushala, in happiness, akushalaha, in distress, mishraha, in happiness, Mishraha, in mixed happiness and distress, karma nama, according to one's own past deed, gata yaha, as the result of tu bata imaha, all of them.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So moving on to translation, Meenakshi Shankar Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O King, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. This includes Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads like Vaivasta Manu, the demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, the great sages like Bhrigu, Vyasa, and Vashishta, the inhabitants of Pitraloka and Siddhaloka, the Charanas, the Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras, and angels, the serpentines, the monkey-shaped Kim Purushas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matraloka, the demons, Pishachas, ghosts, spirits, lunatics, and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, and from seeds, and all others, whether they be in the water, land, or sky, in happiness, in distress, or in mixed happiness and distress. All of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. Dandut Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Sindhu Mataji, can you read the purport, please?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Text 2.10.37-40.
Yeah.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Purport. The varieties of living entities are mentioned in this list, and with no exception from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet of the universe, all of them in different species of life are created by the Almighty Father Vishnu. Therefore, no one is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, the Lord therefore claims all living entities as his offspring in the following verse.
Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti yaha tasam brahma mahatyonihi aham bija pradapita.
The material nature is compared to the mother. Although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body, it is still a fact that the mother is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. The father is the ultimate cause of the birth. Without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the innumerable universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead, and only to the man with a poor fund of knowledge, they appear to be born of the material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living entities beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds.
Mataji, I will give it one more Mataji waiting. Sudha Mataji, continue.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, start.
The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 7.4. The
Bhumi
material
rapo analo. Mataji, I will chant the verse. Bhumi rapo analo vayuhu kammano buddhi revacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtada.
The material nature is inferior in comparison to the living entities, the superior nature. The superior nature and inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all universal affairs. Some of the living entities are relatively happy in better conditions of life, whereas others are in distressed conditions of life. But factually, none of them are actually happy in material conditional life. No one can be happy in present life, although one may be a first-class prisoner and another a third-class prisoner. The intelligent person should not try to be promoted from third-class prison life to first-class prison life, but should try to be released from the prison altogether. One may be promoted to first-class prisoner, but the same first-class prisoner is again degraded to a third-class prisoner in the next term. One should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. That is the real goal for all types of living entities. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. So now we can understand how important is the karma and the activities. And this particular verse describes how many living entities are there. We cannot imagine that. Though there are so many zoologists, botany people there, but they cannot find out what is that number. So here it's an unlimited number, and it says very clearly it's based on the karma. So let us move on to the translation. It talks about Chatu Vidaha. Chatu Vidaha means what? 4 type of creations or 4 type of living entities comes out. This our science may explain or may not explain. The Bhagavatam explains this. This is a scientific thing. So how it happens? One is born either from embryo or egg or perspiration or seeds. So now we can understand embryo are the human beings, eggs are animals and other things. Then coming back to perspiration, the mosquitoes and other things. Then, if I remember right, I am telling the species correctly. Seeds are the various plants and other things. So like that, here it is described so many things are created in addition to the long list. What is that? It's a long list starting from Prajapati, from that beginning, right? From Brahmaji, Daksha, right? And so on. So all are created. Gandharva, Chitta, Charanas, Kimpurushas, so many things are long list, right? So all these things are created by the Lord, and it's only a fragmental portion of the Lord's energy. Imagine that. Again, it's a combination of 2. That is spiritual as well as material. That's why we read that no Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayu. That means it's a combination of 2. So when we talk about the living entities, it comes from 4 different things. We have to remember it. Then as we move into the purport, it is varieties of living entities. It's the list is going on. Only a few are mentioned. Still there are. Imagine that without body, there are so many things. Pisashas, so many things are mentioned which you have not heard about it, right? Ghost, spirit, lunatics, evil spirit, good and bad. Oh, so many things. Such goblins. Goblins is not what is called as Vinayakas. So animals in the forest also. So such a long list. Okay. So this is beyond our conception. Then here the essence of this complete shloka is given in the 14.4. Sarvayonishu Kaunteya. So all these things are happening. How? Sambhavanti yaha. Because Tasa Brahma Mahatyonihi Aham. What does he say? Aham Bija Pradaha. So I am the seed giving father. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, elsewhere he says, Pitahamasya Jagatu Mata Data Pitamaha. So I am the so and so. Such a long list. So that means the Lord's Vaibhavam is unending and unlimited. So as we see further, innumerable universes are created, and in each and every universe there are so many Brahmas, so many living entities. And the scientists say they had gone to moon, we had gone to Mars, but they have not gone to any of these things. They are going somewhere else and they assume it. So this is beyond our perception. And finally, the last paragraph describes so beautifully some of the living entities are relatively happy in better condition of life. So this talks about the philosophy. What is the philosophy? Whatever we sow, that seed will only grow. Right? So it cannot be something else. If we sow a seed of palm tree, only palm tree will come. Jackfruit tree cannot come. So this is what the reality. So as we do karma, and as we do the karma, we are stuck by the results of it. And when we are stuck by the results of it, we are called as conditioned soul. The moment one is away or above from these things, automatically they are elevated to a higher position because they are not bound by the three gunas. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sharvashaha. The third chapter, I think so, shloka number 29. Anybody can verify it. So in 329, he says, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sharvasaha ahankara vimudatma. So, due to the ignorance and due to the ego or false ego, they think kartaham iti manyate. I have done it. So all these things happen because of the ignorance, or all these things happen because of the false ego. So again, false ego is also categorized into three: sattva-guna, rajoguna, tamoguna. So one should understand, one should not get stuck. That's why the material world is called as a prison. Right? In the previous verses I was explaining, the Lord has created and the king has created the prison and he enters the prison. That does not mean he is also a prisoner. Similarly, the Lord appears in the material world. The material world is compared to prison and the Lord cannot be considered as a prisoner. We are all prisoners because we are conditioned, we are bound by the three modes of nature. Once we rise above the three natures, automatically we are out of this prison. That's why Prabhupada says, one should not think, oh, I am in a third class prisoner, I should go to the first class prison. So prison is prison always, right? So one should not remain in poverty or one should not remain in richness. All these things will not help anybody. One who lives in devotion, that is the real richness. What is that? They can go back. So any material opulence which we possess is not going to come with us. So that's why Prabhupada says, but the same first class prisoner is again degraded to third class prisoner also in the next term. So one should avoid and get out of this fully. So that is the real goal for all type of living entities. So this is the way this entire 6 shlokas describes. I'll quickly summarize. The first shloka describes about the Lord's various potencies and especially those who have misunderstood or those who have not real knowledge, unintelligent, they understood the Lord in two things. One is in the material form or to one with the Lord, which is called as Advaitam. The next shloka she talks about the Lord comes in different incarnation and performs the activities and he is not bound by that. So that we saw in the previous verse. Then in this verse, we talk about the conditioned souls are always bound by, and though there are so many varieties of living entities, the Lord expands with his energy and he creates all this, but the same Lord is not bound by this material conditions. So he is above all those things. So this way, he says he is above all these things, though he appears. So one who understands the Lord, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Yevam Yoveti Tattva, Tekta Deham Punajarma, Naiti Mameti Swarjana. That is the final essence of this. Hare Krishna. So anybody has got any questions, any doubts or any comments, most welcome. Today I had to go a little faster for shloka number 36 to 40. For the reason is the first shloka required lots of references. Even the other shlokas are also there, but still I just touched upon. So anybody has got any comments, any questions, most welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, Meenakshi Mataji, you have a question?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead.
Prabhuji, in one of the slokas you said, na Prabhuji, Shiva is, for Shiva, the material things apply. That is the three modes of nature. How do we understand that, Prabhuji?
See, I'll tell you, if you look at it, Prabhupada writes, right from Brahma to an ant is all bound by the material.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So Shiva comes under, because Shiva is no doubt a special position more than Brahma.
Yes, Prabhuji.
As we see from the Brahma Samhita, that's why chanted the verse, Shiram yata dati vihara vishesha yoga, sanjayati nahi tataha pradagasti hetoho, yashambhutam abhitata samupaiti karya. So the Lord creates another living entity by name, what is called as Shivji, right?
Okay,
He comes under the mode of ignorance. When we talk about the Gunavatar, we can understand the Gunavatar comes in the three categories. So in Sattva-guna, Vishnu himself expands. That does not mean he is bound by the three gunas. I told you earlier. Similarly, then the Lord expands and he comes in the form of Brahmaji, and he is bound by, because he is a living entity, Brahmaji, because we see from the Bhagavatam, there are so many Brahmas.
Yes,
and everybody will be, that's also in the Bhagavatam, it is explained, there are so many Brahmas. So they could not understand the real Brahma. Because there are so many universes, each and every universe has got a Brahma, right? So
yes,
Brahma is always bound by, because he comes under the mode of passion. That's why one time he made a mistake, you all may know that. After looking at daughter also, he was behind her, right? So that is the one. Then coming to third one, Lord Shiva, right? Shiva is no doubt a very special position, right? So the Brahma Samhita also explains, right? Once the milk turns into yogurt, the yogurt has got some qualities of milk, but the yogurt cannot become milk again. Clear?
Okay, Prabhuji.
So that's why he's also coming under them. That's why so many occasions Narayana or Krishna comes to his rescue. One is that Asura, what is the name? Bhasmasura, right? Or they call him as Vrakasura, right? He gave a boon and he came to touch his head, right? And he had to run. And who had to come his to help?
Mohini avatar.
Yeah.
Lord had to take.
Narayana comes. Okay. So like this, there are so many instances. Clear?
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions, any other doubts, any other comments? Most welcome.
Prabhuji, it is said that Shiva is born to Brahma, has come from Brahma.
Yeah. From the forehead of Brahmaji.
But in that, what is that? Vaikuntha, that Golok Vrindavan chart, that Shiva appears to have come straight away as the expansion of Vishnu.
Expansion means, again, it's not fully Vishnu. It's a combination again. That's why he gave the reference of Brahma Samhita. Right? When something added to milk, what happens? It becomes yogurt, right? That is Shivji. Clear? But he's above Brahmaji. That's the understanding. Am I right?
Yes.
Prabhuji, what is that sloka in Brahma Samhita, Prabhuji? Could you repeat, Prabhuji?
Shiram yata dadivihara vishesha yogat sanjayate nahi tataha pratagasti heto. It comes as 5 point, I don't remember now, maybe 45 or 47, something like that.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. I'll check. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This we are taking every Sunday class, English, Brahma Samhita. Each and every verse we are going in detail. Certain verses take 2-3 hours, certain verses take 1 hour. So that's a detailed class of Brahma Samhita. It is in English. There is a translation also in Tamil for that. Every Sunday evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other comments?
Sorry,
any other question? Yeah, tell me.
Suma Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna,
As there are innumerable Brahmas, are there innumerable Shivajis also?
Only 11.
Only 11. Okay.
Because that's why in the Bhagavad Gita he says, Rudranam Shankaras Chasmi. What does he say? There are 11 Rudras. Out of that, Shankara is the supreme.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, you were telling about Brahma Samhita class.
Yeah. Somebody has switched off the mic, Mataji. Narayani Mataji, you have to switch off the mic. Somebody is open.
Yeah, done, Prabhu, done.
Okay, thank you.
Prabhuji, Brahma Samhita class, I would be interested to listen to Brahma Samhita. I have never heard from Brahma Samhita.
Okay. So you take the phone numbers from Narayani Mataji, then you can connect.
I don't know Narayani Mataji phone number.
Oh, okay.
Narayani Mataji, please give here only, no Mataji, so that we can take down all.
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, even I wanted it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Mataji. Okay.
Yeah. So moving on to any other comments, any other questions?
Just one thing more, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Pranam. You
Yes,
said there are 11 Rudras. So which is the chief one? Which name you said?
Sorry?
You said there are 11 Rudras.
Yeah.
Shiva.
Yeah.
Right? Out of it, which is the main? You gave some name.
Shankara.
Okay.
Because in the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, if you read it, Mataji, it is very clearly explained. Rudranam Shankaras Chasmi, he says.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Thank
10th
you. I'll go through
chapter.
that.
Yeah, it is a very wonderful description there. You can understand that.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. We'll do
Hare
the
Krishna.
Vaishnava Pranam mantra.
Yeah.
With that,
Somehow I run through that, huh? Hare Krishna.
So sorry, Prabhu. So sorry, because the people like you, I
don't
know
say
Prabhu.
that. No. See, Mataji, don't say that. Because I just tell you because you are known to me for many years, but this is the situation.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, Bhagavatam is something very unique. You have to go and relish again and again. So much is there. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for all your support, Narayani Mataji. Repeatedly, I say that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
You are giving a wonderful association of devotees. This is very important for us. Hare Krishna. Mataji, we have to pray for some devotees urgency. Can we do that? Names I can give, one or two.
Sorry, Prabhu.
One or two devotees requested prayer. One devotee from Atlanta, she is going for some major operation on Friday. Her name is Lalita Ramaswamy.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay.
She requested prayers. And another one is I forgot the name again. Okay, no problem. For her also we can include. So let's all chant twice. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Rama, Sorry, I have taken more than 10 minutes. Sorry.
No, it's okay, Prabhu. Even all the devotees, if you also have to pray for someone is going for under some operation or surgery or something, yeah, we can do that. We can have it a practice over here that we can chant after the class.
Yes.
Yeah, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Very special cases.
Yeah,
Hare
yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you,
Hari Bol.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Shall I end the class, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Okay. Carry on.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.